Evening, everybody. Welcome back to another well, it's an update really on the Avon rescue, Tiger Avon
Mhm.
rescue with Chris Hollier. So Chris Hollier will take you through. Hi, Chris. You all right?
Hi, John. Yeah, nice to see you again.
Yeah, no worries.
Hmm.
Chris will take you basically where we are with it 'cause it's now. I understand it's now running, and you've been out for a test drive.
Absolutely. It's running and
Yeah,
driving. And if I go right back to the very beginning when we started this was early
yeah.
August, I
Just a
think it was.
yeah,
Yeah. And we said we're going to try and get it finished for the new year. But what I didn't account for then was that I had all of January and all of December off sick. So actually,
right.
timelines wise, I'm pretty much where I thought I was going to be, about 5 months start to finish. But it just
Yeah,
hasn't happened at New Year. It's happened at the end of February because of the sickness thing in the middle. So
yeah.
yeah, overall progress is good. Still a little bit of debugging to do. Only tiny little bits because I used a second-hand hazard flasher switch off the Dolomite Dash.
Yeah.
The contacts are dirty on it, so unless you work it in and out a few times, the indicators won't work. So it's
Right.
just still little bits like that. I've got a standard Sierra brake master cylinder on it without a servo, which
Oh,
means the
okay.
pedal pressure is really high. You have to push
Yeah.
like hell. It will stop and the brakes are working, but for racing, it's not right. So I've got
You
to
probably
try and
want
find a
something on
smaller
it.
bore, yeah, smaller bore master cylinder or a remote servo, one of the two. So it's the standard stuff. When you're building something as weird and wonderful as this, you're going to find all these things.
Yeah, yeah, but it's only
So
when you start to drive it then you think, well, hang on, I could improve
that's it.
that. But I mean, the main thing is to get it on its wheels and get it running and driving, and then you can look at
That's
things
it.
like that afterwards, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lovely phrase which the American hot rodders use. Do you want it right or do you want it right now? You know, and
I've
and
not
you
heard that
have
one.
to
I like
make
that. Yeah,
yeah, you have to make that balance between how perfect are you aiming for and how much do you want to get it out there. Because until you've actually got the tyres on the road, it's all theory. And
yeah,
especially with one-off stuff and all the modifications I've done, you can have your best guess, but you don't actually know until you get out there and start driving it.
yeah, and
And then you can go back and you can do the rectification. So
you don't know how it's going to drive or handle or feel because I mean
that's
you've not
it.
done any major modification to the suspension, but certainly you have in the pedal box area.
Yeah,
Because you've got what size 11 feet, I think you said.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well, on the suspension, the other thing that's done for me because of the size of me, the springs are set up for somebody. The rear springs are set up for somebody about 5'6" and about 11 stone, and I'm not either of those. So I'm
yeah,
finding that the tyres touching the wheel arch. So I've either got to try and get some more preload on the rear springs, or go up a
yeah.
couple of £100 or up 50 or £100 on the rear spring rates.
Just on the rear. What you running? I think we've run in. What are we running on ours? I think it's £200 or £250. I can't remember now off the top of my head. It's not a
Well,
huge.
I've
It's not a
built
huge. But yeah,
No, I've built myself a spring gauge so I can actually measure them accurately what's on there. I've made sure I've set them up so they'll come on and off easily. I can take the spring and shocks off in about 15 minutes. So to actually do a spring change is not a big deal. And
it's not a big deal.
I've got 20 sets of springs in stock of different lengths, different
Oh,
poundages.
okay.
So I might even have something. If not, Rally Design do a pair of springs for about 40 quid. So we're not talking big
Yeah.
money.
No, not at
And it
all.
would just be just tailoring the car in to what I want to do with it and to me and making it all work. So
Exactly. And one,
uh,
I will mention one word of warning or caution. If you are going to disassemble a shock absorber, just make sure you use a spring compressor.
yes, yes, yeah. Fortunately, with these coilovers,
You can wind
you
them
won't
down.
get
Yeah,
yeah, you can wind them down to take most of the preload off, but you
yeah,
won't get the spring collar out without a spring compressor. You
right.
physically
Yeah,
won't get it out because it's got to go. You've got to compress the spring
to get
further
the
up
collar
than you
off.
think
Yeah,
to get the collar to come out. So as springs go, they're reasonably safe.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Brilliant. Got some slides we can go through. You took. I mean, this is where we are with it now, Chris, and I think you're pretty much there now. You've been for a test drive as well, which we'll come on to. So
yeah,
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 just talk us through some of these slides. I can see your number 7 on the front there, which you made yourself,
yeah,
and your grill.
and
Yeah,
and it's on its tires for the first time, and as a
in
complete car in 24 years. I mean,
24. Yeah.
It's not lost on me, you know, that this is a long term, not my 24 years, in case nobody has seen this before. I've not
Yeah.
taken that long. I've taken 5 months, but it was ordered from the Tiger factory in 2001. So this is it's been around a while, this car. So it's lovely to finally see it doing what it was built for.
Exactly. We'll come on to the budget at some stage as well, because this is always going to be not a low cost as such, because obviously it's a Tiger, but it's very much the low cost philosophy of keeping the cost down as much as possible. And you're not intended to IVA it at the moment, although you have sort of borne that in mind on certain bits. So it will be able to be IVA'd with a couple of tweaks like your bonnet catches and things like that. So
things like bonnet catches with the headlights. I've used a non-IVA compliant headlight because it's got a side light and indicator built into it, and they were 25 quid a side rather than spending £70 a side. But it is only an undo a screw, take the clip off the back and put another bulb unit in it. So all these changes are relatively straightforward if it eventually goes for an IVA test. So it's been built with that in mind.
Yes.
And the number plate that's on the back there, it's a private plate that I've got on retention. It was only on there to try and see what the back of the car would look like with a plate on it, rather than just being bare. So I was trying to get the balance and the colour scheme right. So that's not its number, and it won't be registered on that one.
No. You've gone for it was a great shot there. You've gone for a total sort of yellow and black theme to it. I think it looks absolutely great. It's not fussy. It's not overly done. I like what you've done the wheels as well, which we can come on to. I think we mentioned those in one of the other episodes that we did. Yeah.
I mean, the wheels came with the kit within the 850 quid buying price. They were brand new wheels with brand new tyres on them, but they were silver and they'd have been a bit scuffed, but they'd just been in storage. So to try and keep this black and yellow thing going, I Scotch-Brighted the wheels back to get all the muck off of them, and then painted them in black. And the little yellow stripe around the outside is an alloy wheel rim protector, which you can just buy off eBay. It's called rim tape. And it comes as a little kit with self-adhesive trim on the back of it. You clean the wheel off and stick it on. The idea being is that if you do curve it, the plastic trim takes the damage and the wheel remains untouched.
Remains the same.
Trim.
Until you mentioned those, I've never ever heard of them, and I've not seen them. Well, I've not really been looking for them, but I guess other people have used them and know about them. I certainly didn't. But
Now, when you look on YouTube, they're out there. So obviously got 2 seats now rather than one, because everybody so far has only ever seen 1 seat. Because I made the driver's one first to make sure it fitted me. So now we've made the passenger seat. I've also made something that seemed quite obvious when I had a couple of mates of mine jump in it that aren't my size, was we needed a passenger footrest. So we made an angled plate to go in on the passenger side. Because if you're going to throw this thing around rather than just drive it on the road,
you want to be able to plant your feet. Yeah.
You want to be able to hold yourself into the seat nicely. So you can put one arm on the body side, and alongside the handbrake there on the tunnel, you can see I've put those aluminium trims along the corner.
Yeah.
And it became quite obvious when you get in and out, the first thing you do is put one hand on there and one hand on the body side. So if you just put carpet around that corner, within 6 months, the carpet's going to look awful. So at least that aluminium trim is something that we can put a little bit of Scotch-Brite down.
Every now and again.
Anything aluminium, what I find is if, don't worry about trying to lacquer it and stuff like that, because it won't look good for long. But get yourself a Scotch-Brite pad, rub it over with a Scotch-Brite, and then put a tiny little bit of baby oil on a little bit of lint-free cloth and just rub it over the top. And it comes up looking like new. And it looks lovely. It will last a good 6 months or maybe a year.
Yeah, we've got the same on ours, those, as you said, the little aluminium L channel, whatever you want to call them. But ours do need a bit of a clean, because they kind of like oxidize almost.
They do,
yeah.
And just I'll go one more little detail on them. Rather than just being an aluminium L section, they're called a bird's mouth trim. So the outboard corner is actually rounded off, and so are both the edges. So it's really kind to your hands. You can lean on it without any sharp edges on there. So it's just an aluminium extrusion. It's easy to get, but it's a little bit more expensive than aluminium right angle, but so much nicer to work with. And I used another piece again, where you can see the top seatbelt mounts there. I've used a piece across the back of the seats there as well for the same reason.
Oh, yeah.
Nice comfortable edge. If you put your hand behind you to give yourself an extra little hoof to get out the seat, you've got a nice smooth edge to put your hand on.
Yeah, not going to catch yourself on anything. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Mm.
And we'll come on to your dash, because your dash is pretty much finished now as well. You mentioned possibly a couple of the switches or gauges or whatever, but yeah, great design on that. And there's a great episode because you've designed this all yourself as well. And because the Tiger dash is not that deep, it fits the Tiger clocks perfectly. But you obviously went the Dolomite route, which would never going to fit on the Tiger dash.
No, and I had to move the steering column up as well, which again encroached into where the gauges would normally go. So if you tried to put standard gauges or Tiger gauges in the dash where I've got the steering wheel, you wouldn't be able to see them. So it was always form followed function every time on this one. It had to. I had an absolute stroke of luck with a speedo cable. I was looking. I've got a box of about 40 old speedo cables. I keep all this crap because I build so many cars. You need all these weird and wonderful bits. And I knew I had a Type 9 Ford gearbox, which has just got a little flat flange on the end of it, which is held in with a circlip. That's fairly normal. But the Dolomite speedo has a slide-on fitting with a little plastic clip that goes in the side.
Okay.
I thought, well, at least if I can find the bits for both ends, I can then send them off to somebody and get them to make me a bespoke cable with the right ends in the right length. And in the bottom of this box, I've been through about 10 already to try and find one that was long enough. And lo and behold, here was one that the right ends and the right length for free, sitting in a box of old junk. So chuffed a bit for that.
Yeah. So all the other people out there that are keeping stuff in your garages and tucked away in cupboards and stuff, if your missus says chuck it out, no, keep it. It'll come in handy. That's what I say anyway.
You're probably going to save yourself many hundreds of pounds.
Yes.
If you're only going to build one car in your life, then you're not, because once you've done it, you might as well chuck all the extra stuff away. But if you're going to build more of them, especially the way I do stuff, whereas I don't build a kit car as such, an assembly job.
It's bespoke.
All of it is bespoke stuff. So you need all these weird bits.
Yeah. I must admit, I can't. Which one was it now? I think it was our clutch cable went, and we just bought a generic one online. It was really cheap off eBay, but then when we got it, we spent more time trying to then source the end connectors, and then you know what I mean? And they just wouldn't work. And then I think the accelerator cable went, but I found a great bike shop. Guys, don't forget bike shops, motorbike shops. I found a great bike shop down in Gloucester who builds speedway bikes. And I gave him a ring. I said, "Look, I've got this throttle cable which is gone. Can you do me a new one?" He said, "Yeah, bring it in. We'll have a look at it." And he said, "Yeah, not a problem. Leave it with me." Popped back the following day. It made it exactly the same length. It even noticed that the little nipple end that goes into the throttle, the throttle position sensor as it is on the bike sensor, that had come a little bit squashed and like wasn't perfectly round. So it sorted all that out. And we got back, 10 minutes, it was in. It was a perfect fit. So none of this mucking around with trying to fit adapters and trying to get something to fit. I think you're absolutely right with the motorbike guys, is that they are all enthusiasts. Nobody rides a bike because it's cheap. No, you've got to be an enthusiast. Whereas if you go to the average car park shop, if you haven't got the registration number, no, sorry, mate. The bike guys are completely different. They'll look at a problem and they'll do it like old-fashioned car mechanics used to be and say, "Well, okay, you need one of these, and we'll help you fix it." That was exactly like, as soon as I never knew the guy. Somebody, I don't even know where I got the name from. I think somebody mentioned him. So I said, "Yeah, I'll get it." And I just drove down, took the cable. As soon as I walked in, it was a proper old school engineering shop with all lathes and stuff and milling machines. And they're the kind of guys you need that, if they haven't got it, they'll make it for you. And it was really, it was cheaper. It was actually, the throttle cable was actually cheaper than going online. It was obviously charging VAT. Yeah.
Another little bit I'd add on to the end of there is, if they are a bit more expensive, just pay it, because you might need them again. And if you don't pay them, if you don't support them, they won't be there next time. So these little old boys, they're not earning a fortune out of you. You may think it's expensive, but I bet they're earning minimum wage, the majority of them that are doing it nowadays.
I think it was something like it was less than 30 quid. And when you look for a generic one online, they're about 35, 40 quid. It's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. Yeah. I did notice these as well, because you've now got your wing mirrors on as well, haven't you? I like those.
So they are superbike mirrors that they're designed to fit on the end of the handlebar, but the other way up than the way they are now. And I made that little tiny flat bracket to fit through the wind deflector onto the aluminium strong upright panel that's behind it. So there's no vibration. It's not mounted on a bit of thin aluminium. It's mounted right through into a bit of 15 mil thick alley on its edge.
Yeah.
And then the bolts that hold it on are drilled and tapped into it. So I was delighted when I drove it down the road for the first time, how stable they are and quite how good the view is, because you see over the top of the rear wheel arches. Whereas so many guys who put mirrors on the edge of the scuttle, you get a great view of the rear wing and sod all else.
Nothing else.
So,
this is there was somebody else on one of the forums saying, I'm looking to get some carbon effect mirrors or even carbon fiber ones. Where should I look? And I just immediately just replied back and said, go and have a look at some of the motorbike ones. There's loads. I mean, a lot of the manufacturers do them as well, sort of motorbike style ones. But we're the same, because our mirrors are mounted right at on the side of the scuttle, quite low down. But because the motorbike ones have got a very long kind of like shaft or whatever, they really stick up over, so you can see well over the back of the rear arches. So if you're struggling for mirrors, go and have a look at motorbike ones.
Yeah, well, I started off looking on eBay like everybody else does, looking for a design or a style. And when I found the ones I like the look of, I went onto Marketplace and I found a second-hand pair, and these were 25 quid a pair rather than £90 for the pair if you buy them new. So at least you know what you're after then, and you can say, right, if they're these, they'll work and I'll use them. So nice
exactly. As you say, and you've only got to look at it, you're going to be able to see. Well, you can see that in the reflection of the mirror there. You can see it's looking well over the top of you, on the top right there, looking well over the top of the arch there. Brilliant.
I haven't got a centre rear view mirror at the moment, but that's something that might come along at a later date. So I'll work on that one.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, you're not going to IVA it currently at the minute, but I think for IVA, you only need, is it a passenger one and a central one? You don't need a driver's side one. But I mean, it looks odd if you don't fit a driver's one, to be honest. You may as well fit it. But I think you do.
You can either have one either side or a driver's and a centre. I think that's the deal. So you don't have to have all three, but there's a two of three if you wanted to. So
yeah, that's what I thought. And again, we're looking at your wheels and your wheel trim there. I really like that yellow, the black and yellow. And you've got your stone guards on there as well.
Yeah, I had, when I did the wind deflector, I bought quite a lot of that carbon fibre wrap. And it wasn't expensive, and I had some bits left over, and I knew I wanted to make some stone guards because all sevens suffer gravel rash on the rear wings. They just do, because it comes straight off the front wheels and splatters up there. And within 50 miles, if you've got paint, it's even worse because it will just chip it off. But if you've got gel coat, it won't be long before it's peppered with little stone chips.
Starts crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd stick a bit of that on. It's reasonably thick, so it will give it some protection. And if every season I have to take that off and put a fresh bit on, okay, it's another £5 worth of carbon wrap, just to stick it on the top. So, and it adds, again, it's bringing the black and yellow colour scheme in and keeping it looking like it should be there.
Yeah, it looks brilliant. Another shot of the rear of the car there, and you've got all your lights in place and your rear fog. No reversing light, but I don't think you need one for
no, you don't actually,
do you?
No, I don't think you actually need one. If it's fitted, it has to work. But you don't actually need one. So, and all the light heights have all been set up within construction and use positions. So they should, again, you might want to change. They're not E-marked lamps because they're LED lamps, but it would be simplicity itself to change them over to an LED for an E-mark lamp in that position. So it would again be a very, very doable thing. Even things like the fuel filler is flush, all the bolts holding the roll cage on are all flush. So there's no unusual projections there that are going to fail anything. The only thing projections wise that I would need to do for an IVA is the edges of the front fiberglass wings need that push on tight and fast edging pushed around them.
Yes.
The black stuff that just pushes on, and then the bolt heads for the wishbones and the lower shock mount, they would also need push on plastic caps to go over,
like nut covers. Yeah,
that's it, yeah. Easy stuff. Nice, easy and cheap stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. Do you want to mention about budget then? Because I think you were looking to get this on the road. Well, not on the road as in IVA, but certainly off for motor racing. And I think you were looking at a £2,000 budget, but I think you've gone a little bit over, but not far, have you?
I've gone a bit over. I mean, I paid £850 for the unfinished project in the first place, and with everything I've done and making it turn out to be a nice car, I'm in for about three, somewhere around about there, maybe £3,400. So yes, I'm over my £2,000 budget, but I'm still well within the realms of how cheap can you actually build a car nowadays? And I challenge anybody to build one for much less than that. Even back in the old Dutton days in the 1980s, you'd have been probably in for more than that.
Ron Champions. I mean, 250 quid. That was a few years back, but yeah.
So that was part of the project which I enjoyed the challenge of. I didn't have to build a cheap car. I could have gone and built a £10,000 car, but it was just, I've built so many cars. It was nice to have a different reason to aim in that direction. And it was like, okay, let's build it on a budget. Let's prove it's still possible. So I'm lucky that I've got all the workshop facilities and I've got everything else I could want. But it means that realistically, if you had, say, £5,000 to spend, you could buy an unfinished project and you could probably put yourself together a done finished car for £5,000 or a bit less, which is achievable now for most people.
Yes, exactly. I mean, to be fair, you've already mentioned it. I mean, just to be clear, that you've got full workshop facilities. You've built about 140 kit cars, so you know your way around kit cars. I mean, your average. I haven't got that experience. I've not got a milling machine. I've not got a lathe or anything like that. But yeah, if you're in, it still can be done, as you say. And yours will come in less than £4,000. But
so the plan from here is, it's, as I said right at the beginning, there's still a little bit of debugging to do, just a few little bits and pieces, but it's running, it's driving. I'm straight on the next project now. That I'm already in the middle of the workshop and I've had the last 3 or 4 days on it. So it's now going to sit in storage until Kitfest, and then I'll bring it out.
You're bringing it to Kitfest, yeah?
Yeah. Every plane to come, as long as the weather's not dire, I'll be there. And then at least I can. If anybody wants to come and see it, come and talk about it, take the piss out of it, I don't mind. Just come and say hello, and we'll get the car out there. I'll do the parade lap, but I'm certainly no intention of starting to do any quarter-mile times in it. It's not set up for that, and it's not ready for it yet. So rather than embarrass myself and break the car, I'll just admit defeat and say, no, okay, it's going to have to wait until another time.
Yeah, I mean, they do let you can just trundle it round. Obviously, don't do burnouts on the outer parade lap, the outer laps and stuff like that. The perimeter roads, I should say. I mean, you can still drive it up and down and have a little tazz around with it, but don't go burning out on the perimeter laps. No. And not on the parade laps either. They don't like it. They only like you doing burnouts at the start, as we found out, because a couple of cars were hanging, further down the track. They'd hang back and then boot it. But all I did was put divots in there because it's a rubber track. All I did was put divots in the track, and they weren't happy with that. So if you are going to go on the parade lap, don't start thinking about you're going to gun it and do burnouts. Just don't.
And then onward from Kitfest in I think it's end of May. There's 2 evening track day sessions at Snetterton, close to me.
Oh, okay.
So I might go and take it down there. They're a bit more affordable to do an evening session rather than a full day.
Well, we'll come on to that and the noise in a minute, because I can add this as well. This is your first test drive. Sounds well, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I will add that the microphone was on me, not just on the camera. So
Not just on the camera, yeah.
And I fit inside. That's what all the work was for. Well, there you go. From start to finish, you've seen the whole thing. From when it was literally a bag of bones to a fully finished car. From here, the next stage is to do some more road miles on it, a bit more debugging, some fine tuning, and then hopefully within a couple of months, get it out on its first track event and see how it fares. So I hope you've enjoyed the series. Give us a comment, let me know. I'll keep you up to date with all the other cars we're doing because this isn't the only one. There's plenty more out there. And I'll see you again next time.
Yeah,
there you go.
Nice to be able to wrap it up and say, right, yeah, we started with the right intentions. We've got this far. We've turned it into what we said we were going to turn it into, and here it is. It works.
Yeah.
And then we can all the rest of the testing and the competitive stuff can be a separate entity rather than just the build.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a start. This is and if you look on YouTube, Tiger Avon build, whatever, the full series is there. So we'll append.
Yeah.
We're doing some other stuff as well, but that will be appended on the back, so you can see it from start to finish. See how you've worked problems out, or and more importantly, it's not a build. It's not this is how you attach your wishbone. This is how I attach your suspension. It's more of a this is why I've done this. So don't expect it to be a build don't expect it to be a build manual as such. It's more I need to make a fly screen. What do I do?
Yeah, and it's under all the videos are in. If you search for Avon Rescue, all the videos are all in there, and you click on that one, and it will show you the whole playlist. And I think including the metal forming ones, there's about 15 in there now. So there's a fair amount of stuff in there.
Yeah. So even if you're not interested in Tiger cars or even kit cars, there is some great metal forming tips.
That's what it's all been about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the next one I've started now is it couldn't be further away from a standard kit car. We've got a very early 80s NG TA chassis.
Wow.
And we've been given a free body, and we're turning it into as close as we can get to a 1920s Model T Ford pickup truck.
Oh, looking forward to that as well. Yeah.
They were known in the States as a huckster truck, which is a traveling salesman's truck. So it's a bit of a pickup truck and a bit of a van all rolled into one. So nice. I'll be doing some stuff on that. Going to try and get this one done for the middle of the year, and then the Cobra's coming back in. Going to get the Cobra done for the end of the year. So
I was going to say, yeah,
going to be busy.
I saw you not quite dusted off your Cobra, but I know it. I didn't even know you'd got one till you mentioned it a few weeks back. But that was a body that you just bought, and then you redone the chassis or whatever. Was it? I can't remember now.
With the Cobra, it's a Dax Cobra. I bought an old abandoned Cobra kit that had a Reliance Scimitar SS1 chassis underneath it.
Okay.
Awful, absolutely awful. But the body was quite good. And I paid, I think, 1,100 quid for the body and the chassis.
And the chassis.
It was, and it had all the running gear with it and everything else. So it was a very good starting price. Then I approached Dax to see if I could buy a chassis off them for a magazine article for what was then Kitcar magazine. Yes. And they said, well, if you're going to build one of our chassis, we'd really like you to put one of our bodies on top of it so we can call it a proper Dax. And they offered me a whole body for 995 quid. So I couldn't say no at that kind of price. So it's a Dax body and chassis. It's got a 4-litre Rover V8. It's got a Tremec T5 gearbox in it.
Yeah.
It's got the Dax, the Dion rear suspension, but standard wishbone front end. It hasn't got the camber compensation.
Hasn't got the camber comp. Okay.
No, because that was a big cost upgrade. And for what I'm going to be using it for, it wasn't worth it. No. Because if you're going racing, it's a brilliant piece of kit. It's a really lovely, elegant design. But for
Yeah.
bashing down the M4 and going to a show, it's wasted. So it
Yes,
wasn't
exactly.
worth spending the extra money for it.
And that's
and what
the carbon copy is still patented. So
yes, yeah,
yeah,
and it is
Peter Walker. It was Peter Walker, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep. And it really is a very, very good piece of design. But what I'm trying to do is, rather than trying to build the Cobra blue with white stripes and side pipes as a 427 competition replica, I'm trying to build the car that ACs would have made if Carroll Shelby hadn't been a success over in the States.
Right. Yes.
So where would they have gone with the AC Ace and the Cobra shape? They knew they had a good car, they knew they had a good chassis, and they knew it was going to sell, but they didn't have a good engine for it. They had the old Bristol engine at the time, the straight six, which was okay. But when Carroll Shelby came across with the idea of putting a V8 in it, things turned around completely different. That's
what it really took off. Yeah. Yeah.
But at exactly the same time as Carroll Shelby was doing this, BRMs were doing the development work for the Rover V8 to turn the old Buick 215 cubic inch engine into the Rover V8, so they could put it for Rovers in their production cars. So BRM had already done all this modification to make it a UK spec engine rather than an American spec engine. The guys who owned ACs knew about what was going on, and they saw one of these engines sitting in the corner of a workshop and said, well, it's perfect for us. It's an all aluminium V8. It's going to be UK manufactured by Rover, and it will fit in our Cobras. So we'll put our Ace. It was going to be the Ace. I'm sorry. So it was only ever a Cobra, really, in the States.
Yes, and obviously with the Rover, as you say, you've already pointed out, it's all aluminium, so way lighter. Yeah.
And so I've tried to make what would be, if you can imagine what the Austin Healey was. It wasn't a racing car. It was a gentleman's touring sports car.
But sporty touring car. Yeah.
So I'm going down that route rather than trying to turn it into a 427 clone. It should be an interesting project. It's about 3/4 built already, but it's been on hold for I don't know how many years because I've been doing customers' work and doing other stuff, and it's just been sitting up in the barn. So it needs to come out the barn, get on, and get finished. So that'll be another one that I'll do for a series. And hopefully, if 7Spot are interested, we can stick it on there and we can show you how far we've got. I've got hundreds and hundreds of still photos from when it was first being built from the chassis up, when it was a magazine feature car.
Oh, brilliant! That'd be absolutely excellent.
But I've got no video footage from back then. I've only got the still photos. So the video will start from where it is now, with the engine and gearbox in. It's painted and trimmed, but it's not running. I've got all the fuel injection to sort out on it. Got to go through. It's definitely going to have to go through an IVA test. This one, absolutely. So that'll be something that I'll document as well. And what needs to be changed, what needs to be sorted to get it through, because it was never an IVA compliant kit when it was first built. It was too early for that. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost going to be like your Tiger Avon rescue. It's not a DAX rescue because you've been building it already, but it's a similar theme that it's at a rolling chassis stage now, and this is what you're going to do to finish it, and how to make it sort of your own sort of personal choice. It's just you don't want it looking like a traditional, blue white stripe Cobra. You want to do something not different, but it's still got to be
recognisable absolutely as a Cobra. I'm not trying to take that bit away from it. I just think that the shape itself is so pretty. It needs a very subtle rework. Do away with the pipes. Got an underslung exhaust. Do away with the great big chrome nudge bars all around the front and the great big chrome nudge bar on the back. I understand why they were on there, but I'm a great fan of. Have you heard of Chip Foose over in the States?
Yes, he's no longer with us, but great. I used to love that series.
No, Chip Foose is still with us. You're thinking of Boyd Coddington.
Boyd Coddington.
It's
Boyd Coddington. Sorry.
That was Hot Rods by Boyd. Yeah. Well, Chip Foose used to work for him for a while, but Chip's one of those designers that will take a design and knock all the awkward bits off of it by making it simpler and smoother. And I really like that style.
Yeah, it takes things like door handles off and just like gives it a totally clean look, and it does, you know, it does look better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I've done with the I'm going to have overriders on the Cobra, but rather than
Love those.
using the cast ones, I've actually moulded some in fiberglass, because that way then I can shape them into the body and I can tuck them right in close. Now that's twofold advantage. One, they look nice and neat, but secondly, the IVA tester can't get his edge radius gauge on the side of the overrider and say, oh, that's too sharp, you can't have that. So it's a twofold thing. And I've done them in a chrome effect paint rather than actually trying to get them chromed on the plastic. So it's just that little bit tamer rather than being all glitzy and blingy and sight pipes and chrome and 9-litre V8s and all that kind of crap. So I've just toned it all the way down, make it more English, British rather than American.
No. American bling, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, brilliant.
So so hopefully by the end of the year we'll be able to have a look at that one and maybe drive that around the yard as well. That'd be lovely. So.
Absolutely brilliant. We're definitely going to keep in touch with you on that then, without a doubt. And also with your Tiger Avon, because I mean, although the actual build series is finished, but you're going to be doing hill climbs and giving tips and hints of what you need to go hill climbing and what events can you enter. So that that would be coming up. Well, hopefully. You said you get the Snetterton as well, didn't you? You're looking at Snetterton.
Yeah, I've got. There's a couple of evening track days at Snetterton, May, June time. But in August, the car's actually booked in for real at Harewood Hill Climb up near Leeds. They have an academy day. And you're allowed to take any road cars up there. It hasn't got to be a proper competition car. And they teach you how to drive the hill. And it's an instruction day, and it's very, very good. I've done one already in my NGTC V8 and thoroughly enjoyed it. But because the TC V8 is set up as a long-distance cruiser, it's not designed for that kind of work at all. So it was fun, but it wasn't great at it. Whereas the Tiger, because it's set up as a hill climb track car, should be blisteringly quick and tremendous fun. So that's the one that I'm really looking forward to being able to video the whole day and showing what could be better, what worked, what didn't, and how you can build a budget hill climb racer for not too much money and go and enjoy it. But it's definitely for pure first-time amateurs. I'm not going to try and compete with the guys who've been hill climbing for years, because they've probably got 20 grand in their engine. I've got 350 quid in my engine, so you can't compare. You just can't.
Brilliant. Right. Been brilliant speaking to you, Chris, again, as always, and have a great update on your Tiger Avon. Looking forward to your Cobra build. I'll see you at Kit Fest as well. And if anyone wants to go to Kit Fest, go and ask Chris. He'll let you sit in the car. You can see what he's done to the footwell. He'll talk you through how he's made stuff.
Especially if somebody's taller. If somebody's tall, over 6 foot, you'll really notice the difference. That's the big deal with the car. If you're 5'8", you can go and fit in any 7 comfortably. But if you're 6'2", 6'3" like me, and broad of beam, shall we say politely, you won't get in most.
Size 11 feet as well. I've got size 9s, but I always wear karting boots. Because the pedals are quite close, but little things like that do make a difference. Brilliant. All right, Chris, great speaking to you again. See you at Kid Fest. In the meantime, be seeing you.
I'll see you soon. Cheers now. Catch up with you next time.
Cheers, Chris.